Hello, everybody. My name is Christina. I'm a community technologist with DoSpace, and I'm here to talk to you today about Twitch and live streaming. So this is our little brief introduction to Twitch and similar platforms, because Twitch isn't the only one that you're able to do live streaming on, but we'll get into a little bit of that here. This is going to go over kind of the basics that you need to get started, what it's like, my experience with it, and just some best practices to try and be successful. It's, with anything, especially like internet-based, it can, depending on your goals, it can be really difficult, it can be really chill, it can be a lot of work, it can be something you can do in your spare time and have fun with. So really, it's all up to you. So what is Twitch? Twitch is a live streaming platform for primarily gaming, but they have expanded into some other types of live streaming. They have IRL channels, which stands for in real life, which is just people kind of live streaming their day-to-day lives. There are arts and crafting type channels. I know that there's one that I follow where she does primarily like knitting and crocheting and hand dyes her own yarn, which is really cool. And then there are just chatting, which would be similar kind of to what we're doing now, where usually it's an established kind of like personality, somebody who has a channel where they do other things, but sometimes they will just open up their live stream and they will sit and just hang out and engage with their community. So the community is really the big thing when it comes to live streaming. Other than Twitch, there are other platforms. Microsoft has one called Mixer. There is obviously YouTube, and there is the ability to go live on YouTube. And then there is a Facebook gaming division for live streaming games straight to Facebook. So there's probably some other smaller ones that I'm missing, but the point is that in addition to Twitch, which is kind of the main one that everyone's heard of, there are opportunities on a multitude of different platforms to engage with people in kind of this live streaming way. So I have been part of a Twitch channel for a little over a year now. We started in September of 2018. So I guess we're getting closer to like a year and a half now. Our channel is still fairly small. It's just over 100 followers. But I have always been a gamer. I have always loved video games. I started when YouTube started getting really popular. I watched a lot of Let's Play type videos on YouTube, which is usually just watching people play video games with their audio or video overlaid over it, their commentary, which can be a really good time. And then that naturally kind of led to watching Twitch. So watching people do live streams, hanging out in the chat with them. Twitch and live streaming really lends itself to that community feel. You guys are all hanging out together while the streamer is playing video games. There's chat, so you can talk with them, and usually they'll reply to you, and you really get that aspect of hanging out together. So when my channel started, we actually started with just live streaming straight through the Xbox Twitch app, which is super simple, and I'll talk about that more later. But now we've moved on to having more complex setup. You can see that I've got my microphone here. So it's just something that kind of evolved naturally. And there are a lot of options depending on where you want to start, what you want to do, and kind of like, how much money you're willing to sink into it, those sorts of things. So really the goal here today is for you guys to walk away with a better understanding of Twitch and how you could potentially get started if that's something that you're interested in, if you want to make this something part of your life, or even if you've heard of it and you don't understand what people are doing. So we are going to talk about, first of all, the hardware. And I think of this as like what you're playing games on. Obviously, there's really just kind of like two main options as far as if you're live streaming video games, and that is video game consoles and a gaming capable PC. Now, I specify a gaming capable PC because not all computers are created equally. You do need to have a pretty good graphics card, processing power, RAM, if you're going to be playing some of the higher end video games that have a lot of graphics, your AAA titles like your Call of Duties, your Overwatch, those sorts of things. things that need to run really well. That being said, there are a lot of really great indie games that run on less power. So really, when you're picking a PC for gaming and or live streaming, you want to look at the minimum required specifications for the things that you're trying to run. As far as video game consoles go, obviously there are kind of the three main ones, which are the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, and then the Nintendo Switch, which I don't have a picture here of, and I'll explain why here in a second. So with these two consoles, and I'm assuming their upcoming counterparts since we're expecting new ones later this year, you are able to download the Twitch or Mixer apps, whatever. The larger platforms have their own apps that are available on these consoles, and I have the controllers right here for both. Then you can log in with your Twitch account, and you actually have the option to go live straight from your console, which is super easy. For my channel, it's not just me that plays games. We have several cast members, if you want to think about that. So we generally will all be in our own separate homes, on our own separate consoles, and then we will link up in voice chat on the console. And the really nice thing about going directly from the console live onto Twitch is that you can also include the party chat. The audio for everybody is there, even though it's only going to be showing the video for whomever is hosting, which was usually me. But this didn't require me to have a PC at all. It didn't require me to have any specialized equipment. Really, the only thing it required me to have was a stable enough internet connection that I was able to run this through my Xbox. So that was super convenient. That we are primarily Xbox, but that option is present on the PlayStation 4 as well. And the PlayStation 4 also has some really nice share options for other things. So several platforms are available that way. But that brings us to this guy, the Nintendo Switch. So the Nintendo Switch, or even just Nintendo in general, isn't as friendly with live streaming. It actually has only been somewhat recently, I think it's been within the last year or two, that Nintendo has lifted several restrictions on live streaming their video games at all. There were some copyright restrictions on those, so generally they didn't get streamed or videos made of them as often because Nintendo would have them taken down. The Nintendo Switch, to my knowledge, does not have an inbuilt way to stream directly from the console itself. It is a smaller console, so that makes sense. So if you were going to stream with the Nintendo Switch, then you would do that in a similar manner that you would if you're going to be streaming anything through a PC. So you can't go directly from the Switch. You do have to do it through a PC and send it to your live streaming platform from there. So that being said, what are some of the other things that you need to stream especially if you're going through a PC, which I guess, go through my notes here. If you're going through a PC, then you can use any of these and even like some other things in order to send your gameplay through the PC to Twitch. What you need is a capture card, and I don't have that on here. I think I put that on my next slide. But what is a capture card? It is a separate piece of equipment or like a graphics card type thing for your computer. You can get them both external and internal. But anyway, you take the audiovisual output from your gaming, put it through that capture card, and then that is what sends straight to Twitch. There's probably a way better way to explain that, a way more in-depth technical way to explain that, but that's something that you can go look up. Popular ones are like the Elgato. That's the main one. That's the one that I use, but there are lots of options for that as well. So for example, if you wanted to stream your Nintendo Switch, you would take your HDMI cord and plug it into your capture card. Other things that you're going to want is something to capture your audio. Now, it's obviously not required to have your voice going over your gameplay, but that is generally what a lot of people are there for. Like go out and play the game themselves, or they could watch just a pure playthrough without any commentary. But for the most part, you're there for the personality, for the person that's there. So you want to be able to put your voice out to your audience. So you can see here that I've got a microphone set up with a pop filter. I've got my headphones on here, but you can also have a headset like this, which is, this one is my Xbox headset. It's got a microphone that folds out here. And when I was streaming directly through the Xbox, this is what I would use for my personal audio. It would be captured through this microphone and overlay my game audio. So depending on how much you're wanting to get into it, you don't necessarily have to buy a separate microphone. You know, you have things to take into account like quality or audio quality, those sorts of things. But something else that people don't always necessarily think about right away when it comes to choosing like a headset or headphones is comfort. A lot of Twitch streamers will stream for hours and hours at a time, and headsets get heavy. And if you wear glasses like me, they start to pinch kind of on the side of your face. So a lot of headsets are made, you can find on the box where they say that they are glasses friendly. So that's something to keep in mind. But some of the headsets that are really fancy have really high-end audio in them for giving you the game audio. They can end up being quite heavy after a while. So you want to keep in mind if they need charged. This is a wireless headset with an internal battery, so it needs to be charged, those sorts of things. So do your, with anything like this, do your research, figure out what's going to work best for you. If you want to go the extra step to being there and being present for your followers, for the people that are coming to watch your stream, you could look into having a webcam. In the early days when we were streaming exclusively through the Xbox, we didn't have a webcam setup or anything like that. There is some basic capability through the Xbox to use their old Kinect. I don't know if anybody remembers the Kinect, but you could use that as a webcam for live streaming. There isn't a lot of Kinect support anymore, so I don't know if that is even an option anymore. But if you are going through a PC with a capture card, then you also have the option to get a webcam. And in addition to that, a lot of people will use green screen for chroma keying is the technical term for when you use a green screen to replace your background. So you'll actually see a lot of streamers they'll have a green screen behind them, and then they'll just cut out their image and they'll overlay that over the game. So you just kind of like see them sitting in their chair down in the corner. You don't have to use a webcam. I didn't mention that on here. You can also hook up a video capable camera. A lot of people who have sunk a lot of money into their streaming setup will have like a really nice like DSLR type camera that is then just connected into their computer so that they get really high quality video. Some other things that you want to consider as you're kind of trying to build up your Twitch channel, you can look for fancy peripherals like the Stream Deck, which is something that comes from Elgato, or other like USB key hub type things, iDrop boxes. I'll get those in a second. That is something that gives you more control, finite control over different aspects of your stream. You can keybind, you can set up preset things for your buttons to do, to like switch between scenes or make something happen, or launch different applications. And sometimes it can just be a really quick way to add some extra zing to your channel. If you've got the PC set up, it's usually a good idea to go ahead and get a second monitor in order to monitor your chat. That's where your community engagement comes through, especially as your channel starts to grow and you have more people in your chat more often. You want to be keeping an eye on that. You want to be answering their questions. You want to be engaging with them and really like building up that community aspect of it. Depending on where you live, you might want to do some soundproofing. I haven't done any here in my space yet, but if you look and you watch other streamers or YouTube content creators, you'll see that they have like the foam on their walls for soundproofing or better acoustics. So that's something that, depending on how much of it you need to do, can be fairly cheap. And if you live in an apartment that has a lot of extra noise, be it from neighbors or trucks going by or whatever, that could be something that is really important to look into. And if you're going to be on camera, you might want to have some decorations. You'll see a lot of people have a whole room set up for their Twitch streaming with like signs with their channel's name and like little gifts that followers have sent them, or even just like really cool lighting. There's a lot of ways that you can personalize your Twitch channel, personalize your feed using these different peripherals. So we are going to really briefly turn this off and let me grab my boxes I dropped. I just had a couple things that I grabbed to show you guys. So this is the box for the webcam that I use. It is the Razer Kiyo. And what's really nice about this one is it has a built-in ring light. So if the lighting in here was worse, I have the option to turn this on and it just illuminates me a little bit nicer. But I have glasses, so it also just reflects off of my glasses. But this is something that I picked up when I was starting to invest more in my Twitch channel. We have this. This is the microphone that I'm using that you can see right here. And hold on, let me turn that off. Get out. There we go. So this is the Turtle Beach Stream mic, and actually I picked this up at first because this microphone is also compatible with the Xbox One. So back in the early days, like I was talking about, when we used to stream exclusively through the Xbox, we would sometimes, and we still do sometimes, do what we call couch streams, where instead of all being in our separate homes, we'll all come over here and we will sit on the couch and play usually party games like Mario Party or Mario Kart, or we'll watch each other play games, things that is a single player game, but all of us want to be a part of. And so when we needed a microphone that was capable of picking us all up while we were sitting on the couch for those sorts of things through the Xbox, this is what we picked up. It has a lot of options as far as cardioid, bidirectional, omnidirectional, depending on like how many people you have and what setup they're in, those sorts of things. So this has been a really solid pickup for us. It's got a lot of versatility, and it's one of those things that we researched and looked at what was going to work best for us. And then I also do have my box here for my Elgato Stream Deck. So it's just, and I can pick it up here actually because it's just sitting in front of me. Got all these little buttons. Each of these that's lit up is its own separate button. They're little video screens, so you can set them to show certain things, usually what they do. Like this button will launch Streamlabs OBS, which we will go over here in a minute. And these ones do some different things too. So there's a lot that is capable with this device that I actually haven't figured out yet because I only picked it up recently. But it's just something that can help, you know, like I said, add some extra fun and extra layer to your Twitch stream. I also have a pop filter on my microphone that just helps my voice stay good. You know, I don't like pop my P's or hiss my S's as much when it goes through here, so that it just makes the audio quality a little bit better. And I've got this on an adjustable arm because this is where I sit and I stream. So this way, depending on how I'm sitting or how I'm set up, I can have the microphone nice and close to me. And it's better quality than like when I had to just sit it on the desk in front of me. When we do our couch streams, like I mentioned earlier, we also have to obviously move the webcam because we're all sitting in front of the TV, which is off to my right here. So I just picked up a little tripod. And so we set this up with the webcam on it in order to do that. So there's just a lot of options for how you can do your setup, depending on, like I said, how much you're trying to grow, how much money you have to invest. All of these things were picked up very like piecemeal, one thing at a time, sometimes months and months and months later, just, you know, when some extra cash was laying around or it was a birthday. The Elgato Stream Deck was kind of an early birthday gift for me from my husband. So there's lots of options and lots of things that you can do. So we are going to jump back into this, and we're going to talk about software a little bit. So now that you've got all of the hardware that you need, you know what you're playing video games on, you know what you're using to capture your audio, your video, whatever. Now we have to talk about software. And streaming software is the big one. There's a lot of different ways that you can manage your stream and make it look nice, or even just manage it. So obviously the Twitch website, where you set up your account, you set up your channel and all that good stuff, you can go live straight through the website. And they've got a really great dashboard there where you can see your speed, like your connection, how good that is. If you're dropping frames, you can watch your chat. It'll give you notifications for things like new follows, new subs, which are subscriptions where somebody can pay monthly to support your channel, those sorts of different things. So Twitch already has some really great inbuilt tools for that. That being said, there are also some third-party companies that have built other things. So Elgato, which was the company that we talked about with the Stream Deck and the capture card, they have their own software that goes with, for the most part, their products, which I have not personally tested out, but I do have an Elgato capture card, and obviously I have the Stream Deck. So I've played with them a little bit, but I've never gone live through them. The one that we use, actually, we started with OBS, which is like open broadcasting software or something like that. It's open source, it's completely free. Just gives you a couple more options to build up like overlays. So you'll have your video feed, and then you can have basically like a decorative frame is the easiest way for me to explain it, that you can customize to your channel. A lot of people will get artists to make them custom ones. I know that we did. And those can also display things like your social media handles and those sorts of things. So it's just an extra layer on top of your stream to make it even more fun, even more engaging. And then from OBS, there is now Streamlabs OBS. Now Streamlabs was an app or an add-on that you could use that basically gives you notifications on your live stream when somebody follows or subs or donates, or there's a bunch of customization options, but it overlays right over your video as you're live streaming. You can customize what it says, the little action that it does. You know, you can put a picture next to it, and it makes like a fun little notification sound. And that's really cool because that's also something that engages your community. If somebody is hanging out in your chat, they'll see that people are following, they'll see that people are donating. And when somebody donates and they see their name pop up on the screen, that makes them feel included and those sorts of things. So there's now this version of OBS called Streamlabs OBS, still free, still open source, that more seamlessly combines those features. So that's what we've been using lately. And the really nice thing about using things like OBS, Streamlabs OBS, or the last one that I have on my list here is XSplit, which is another really popular one that I just personally don't have experience with, is you can set up different scenes for those. The one that we use most often has the video game as like taking up most of the screen, and then we have a little webcam box that the video our video for our webcams will be playing through, and we've got our fancy overlay, which stays on all of them. But one of the things that I did on my Stream Deck here is you can change between the scenes. So if for some reason I didn't want my webcam to be on, I have a scene set up that is the video game and our overlay, but it doesn't have the webcam on it. So I can switch to that, or I have a webcam only one, which is usually for when we're having technical problems with the game itself, and like maybe I have to go out to my home screen or my desktop, and that's not something that I want to be sharing on the internet. I can put it on just webcam, and it'll get big, kind of like when I was showing off my boxes here. So there's different things you can do to jazz up visually your stream, so that's not just video game footage. You can really personalize it and make it your own. I already talked about overlays and notifications. So obviously, if you're trying to build a community, trying to build a presence, social media is going to be really important for that. So you'll want to if you're looking at doing branding and like really building something up, really being serious about it, you'll want to grab the social media handles that match your Twitch channel. That way everything is consistent as much as possible. But then you can use that social media to further engage your fans, further engage your community, build up a rapport with them. And the thing that's really important that a lot of Twitch streamers do with their social media is let people know their schedule and when they're about to go live. Or if something happens and you're not going to be able to meet your schedule, let them know that you won't be online when you normally would be. It's pretty important to have a decent internet connection. We talked about this a little bit earlier. I know that all of my machines, my computer and my Xbox, things that I stream through or I use to game while I'm streaming are all plugged into Ethernet. Ethernet is more stable than a Wi-Fi connection. It's usually a little bit faster. So you just want to make sure that online gaming already takes a pretty decent internet connection to do without any lag or anything like that. If you're going to be if you're going to be gaming and streaming from the same internet connection, you're going to want a pretty strong connection. You're uploading a lot of information to the internet during that time. And with your online gaming, you're both uploading and downloading. So that's something where you probably want to talk to your internet service provider, go over your options. For our channel, since we have more than one cast member who is part of it, a lot of the times what we'll do, if I'm hosting the stream, one of them will host the game. So there's little things that you can do to kind of get around it, but that is something that you want to take into consideration, that if you have like the lowest tier of internet that your internet service provider has, you might not have as stable of a connection. That doesn't mean that you won't be able to stream, depending on which level kind of that you're doing, but it is something to consider, especially if you're looking at really like diving in. One of the last things is something for voice chat. Like I mentioned, I have several cast members that I use on all stream together on my channel. We talked about I used Xbox chat when we were streaming through the Xbox exclusively, but now if we're doing something through the PC or something else, then we would need a voice chat so that we can talk to each other when we are in our separate homes. The two really popular ones are Discord or TeamSpeak. Both Discord I know is free. TeamSpeak I'm not 100% sure on because I haven't used it. But there's also like Skype, Google Hangouts. There's a billion video conference, voice chat kind of softwares out there. You just got to find the ones that work best for you. Discord and TeamSpeak are more specifically aimed towards gamers, so they are already kind of built with those considerations in mind. Last, I kind of just want to talk about best practices as far as A, building up your Twitch channel, and B, taking care of yourself. So when you are looking at potentially building a following on a platform like Twitch or something else, there are a few things to keep in mind. Consistency is going to be a big one. People want to know when to expect you. People want to be able to know that, hey, I can go home this evening and this channel will be streaming. If they get used to you being on a schedule and then all of a sudden you're not adhering to that schedule, it can be really jarring. It can be disappointing. So that's just one of the things. And for me personally, I found that it's made it easier to incorporate streaming into my life. Having these days set aside that I know I'm going to stream tonight. I don't have to try to work it in amongst everything else in my life. It's already there. It's already scheduled. And I can work around it. And that has really helped us stay consistent, but I think it just also keeps us on track, I guess. And I guess it's really the same thing as staying consistent, but really I can't praise enough just the simplicity of having a schedule. The length of your streams is going to be fairly important, especially when you're first trying to get started, get people to notice you. If you're only streaming for an hour or two, it doesn't really give people a lot of opportunity to stumble across you and see what's going on, see if they are interested in your content. So you really want to, I think the minimum is about 3 or 4 hours that a lot of people recommend when you're trying to build a following. Obviously it's up to you. Not everybody can sit down and stream for 8 hours, but if that's what you're looking for, keep in mind the length of your stream will probably help you kind of catch those people that are just browsing around. And that way they can log on, they can be like, oh, what's this? Check it out. And hopefully they won't be at the tail end of your stream, and they will have a chance to really get to know you. One thing that I've noticed too is the time of day you stream can help a lot. Obviously, there's only so much we can do as people with busy lives, but one of the things that happened to us consistently until we kind of shifted things is we'd have more people tuning in right towards what was the end of our stream for the night. So at that point, you know, you've got all these new people and you really want them to stay, but you need to get offline and eat dinner or whatever. So, you know, play around with it. Maybe when you're getting started, try a few different times of day, see what works best for you. And when you're trying to convince people to stick around, you're going to want to be engaging. Obviously, a lot of people like to play video games. A lot of people, I mean, I know that I'm perfectly capable of sitting down and playing a video game and being completely silent for the next 3 hours while I'm doing so. But that's not what I'm like when I'm streaming. You don't want to sit there and just be a lump and just be playing your video game, because that's not something that's going to be interesting. It's not something that's going to keep people around. And one of the big reasons that me and my group and friends started streaming together was because we would have so much fun while we were streaming. We'd be laughing. We'd be hardly able to stop laughing. And that was something that we wanted to share and be able to put out there so that maybe we could help other people laugh too. So definitely focus on being engaging. It can be hard. It can be disheartening at first when you've been looking at the viewer count sitting at 0 for the last 2 hours and all you want to do is finish your stream and get off, because nobody's hanging out with you anyway. But, you know, if you're not, if you don't have it on, I guess is the way that I think about it, then you're not necessarily going to convince people to follow you. But you do need to keep your own health in mind. So as with anytime you're video gaming, anytime that you're sitting at the computer for a long period of time, you need to make sure you're getting up and walking around every couple of hours. Take a break, get moving, get some water, you know, eat your food, those sorts of things, just those general health practices for anything that's, you know, supposed to keep you stationary for long periods of time. That being said, there is a really popular streamer who, as far as I can tell, exclusively streams the game Just Dance. So she's just got a room that she gets up and she goes and she does the dances. And I don't know if I could dance that much, but she's definitely staying healthy. And something else that people don't talk about a lot, but is becoming a lot more prevalent, is just burnout. Especially in this day and age of online content creation, live streaming, esports. It's something that, since the physical load is so small, it's easy to think I could sit down and I could do this for hours and I could do this for hours every day. But it does get to be quite a mental strain. I know that a lot of esports stars talk about it starts to wear on their mental health. Some of them professionally early on, they would stream for, or they would not stream, but they would practice their games for hours and hours at a time. And that just gets to be a lot. It gets to be very hard. You just get tired, you get lethargic, you can get depressed. So watch for burnout and recognize those signs in yourself. If it's not fun anymore, or if you just need to skip a stream and take a day off and go out to dinner or something like that, that's perfectly understandable and that's perfectly fine. This is something that should be fun. It shouldn't be like life or death, I have to do this. So as with everything, take care of yourself. Don't push yourself too hard if you don't have to. So I hope that kind of gives you guys an idea of where you can get started on something like Twitch. I know that I personally have had a lot of fun with it so far. Obviously, we're still going. We are growing really slowly, but that's okay because we're just having a good time. If you have any more questions, you can send those to hello@dospace.org. Follow DoSpace on social media. We're putting together a lot of really great content for you guys during these times where we're all kind of working from home, but we're definitely not stopping when it comes to bringing education and bringing tech help to the community. So there's going to be a lot more to watch out for in this space. Just keep looking for it. Keep following us. We're updating you as much as we can. And I'm going to put together a blog post with some resources, some of the things that we talked about today, which we will hopefully get shared here soon. But that's what I've got. Once again, if you have any more questions, get a hold of us on social media or send us an email, and we'll be back with more great content for you soon.